Sensor resolutions. In this lecture we shall discuss about the sensor resolutions, but before that we should have some idea about the swath and nadir. Satellite based remote sensing is always performed by scanning technique. Scanners and scanning techniques will be discussed in a later session. However, in this lecture, uh, let us have an overview on the difference between scanning and non-scanning. In the scanning technique, an array of sensor detectors are operated in such a way that it captures imagery between two lines. It is continuous image capturing process, starts when the camera or the sensor is turned on and ends when it is turned off. Therefore, for a long duration, camera operates, a strip-like image is generated. On the other hand, the non-scanning technique, camera captures imagery of a square or rectangular shaped ground area in a single shutter operation. From the aerial platforms, imaging techniques was primarily non-scanning. However, nowadays scanning technique is also being applied widely. The concept of swath is applicable for scanning technique, not for the non-scanning technique. As a satellite revolves around the earth, the sensor sees a certain portion of the earth's surface. In a satellite system, the total width of the area on the ground covered by the scanner is called the swath. So this portion is actually the swath. Imaging swaths of spaceborne sensors generally vary between tens and hundreds of kilometers wide. Swath depends on various factors like how many detectors are there in the sensor, spatial resolution of the sensor, orbital altitude of the sensor, etc. Higher altitude means larger areas can be observed, means if I increase the altitude, then for the same altitude it will have a wider swath, and uh, uh, as the satellite orbits the earth from pole to pole, its east-west portion would not change if the earth did not rotate. However, as seen from the earth, it seems that the satellite is shifting towards west because the earth is rotating beneath it. This apparent movement allows the satellite swath to cover a new area with each consecutive pass. The satellite's orbit and the rotation of the earth works together to allow complete coverage of the earth's surface. And as you can see in this slide, so the satellite moves forward and it scans a specific width on the earth's surface, and this specific width is called swath. Now this is a schematic diagram of swath, FOV, nadir and nadir line. So first, what is the swath? So this is the swath, the width that is scanned by the sensor during a scan. Now what is nadir or nadir point? The nadir is the point which is directly beneath of the sensor while scanning. So nadir is the point which is directly beneath of the sensor, and the nadir line is a line parallel to the swath lines and that passes through the nadir point. And as you can see, the sensor is moving in this direction and the scanning will also be performed in this direction continuously. Next, as you can see, the nadir and off nadir viewing. A satellite may look towards the nadir or even it may look off the nadir, and if it looks towards the nadir, then for the same angle of view the swath will be rather smaller, and if it looks off the nadir, then for the same angle of view the swath will be rather wider. Now let us start discussion on sensor resolutions. Data collection system has four major resolutions associated with it. They are the spatial resolution, spectral resolution, radiometric resolution and temporal resolution. The major characteristics of an imaging remote sensing instrument are described in terms of its spatial, spectral, radiometric and temporal resolution. These four resolutions are often collectively referred to as sensor resolutions. An analyst should have a full understanding of these resolutions in order to extract meaningful biophysical or hybrid information from the remotely sensed imagery. Resolution or it is also known as resolving power. So resolution is defined as a measure of the ability of an optical system or other sensor to distinguish between signals that are spatially near or spectrally similar. First is the spatial resolution. For some remote sensing instruments, the distance between the target being imaged and the platform plays a major role in determining the detail of information obtained and the total area imaged by the sensor. Sensors on board platforms are far away from their targets. Typically, they view a larger geographic area but cannot provide great detail. Compare with an astronaut on board the space shuttle to see the earth to what we can see from an aeroplane. The astronaut might see a whole province or country in one glance, but will not be able to distinguish individual houses. Flying over a city or town, we will be able to see individual buildings and cars from an aeroplane, but we will be viewing a much smaller area than the astronaut. This is a similar difference between satellite images and aerial images. The detail that we can obtain in an image is dependent on the spatial resolution of the sensor, which refers to the size of the smallest possible feature that can be detected. Spatial resolution of passive sensors depends primarily on their instantaneous field of view or IFOV. So the IFOV is the angular cone of visibility of the sensor and it determines the area on the Earth's surface which is seen from a given altitude at one particular moment of time. The IFOV may also be defined as the area on the ground which can be viewed by a single instrument from a given altitude at any given instant of time. This area on the ground is also called resolution cell, and it determines sensor's spatial resolution. It can be measured in one of the two ways, as angular measurement or as the area on the ground. By many satellites, we do not have a perfectly stable orbit. For many of the satellites, we do not have a perfectly stable orbit because the actual altitude of a platform may vary because of several reasons. Therefore, the spatial resolution will also vary accordingly. But this variation is slight, very slight. The IFOV becomes smaller at lower altitudes and increases as the altitude increases. For practical purposes, therefore, we define a sensor system's nominal or average spatial resolution. The spatial resolution of Landsat 1, Landsat 2 and Landsat 3 multispectral sensors, for instance, is reported as 79 meter. The actual resolution varies from 76 to 81 meter. To make the IFOV more specific, that is with geometric projection, it is also referred to as instantaneous geometric field of view. The information within an IFOV is presented by a picture element in the image plane, usually referred to as a pixel. It is important to realize that IFOV and FOV are different. The FOV, or field of view, is the total angle of view of the camera which defines the image swath, but IFOV defines the viewing angle of a sensor's detector, which defines the area on the ground represented by a pixel in the image. In this example, as you can see, that IFOV is basically representing a pixel, and a pixel is representing a specific ground area, and as you can see that a pixel may represent different ground areas, and if the ground area that is represented by a pixel is smaller, then definitely we can get higher level of detail, but if the pixel represents a larger geographic area, then we can get a lower level of detail. If the IFOV for all pixels of a scanner stays constant, then the ground area represented by pixel at nadir will have a higher spatial resolution than those pixels which are off nadir. This means that spatial resolution will vary from the image center to the swath edges. However, after capturing, images are systematically processed to maintain constant spatial resolution throughout the image. And also, as we have discussed earlier, that satellites do not have a perfectly stable orbit, therefore the IFOV becomes smaller at lower altitude and increases at the altitude increases. So anyway, for the practical purposes, we use the nominal or average spatial resolution. Next is the spectral resolution. Spectral resolution refers to the number of spectral bands, individual bandwidths, and the entire range of electromagnetic spectrum covered by the bands. We know about spectral response and spectral reflectance curves that we have discussed earlier. Different We also know that different classes of features and details in an image can often be distinguished by comparing their responses over distinct wavelength ranges. Broad classes such as water and vegetation can usually be separated by using broad wavelength ranges. For example, the visible and near infrared, etc., as we have learned earlier. Other more specific classes, for example, different crop types, may not be easily distinguishable using either of these broad wavelength ranges and would require comparison at much finer wavelength ranges to separate them. Thus, we would require a sensor with higher spectral resolution. The finer the spectral resolution, the narrower the wavelength range for a particular channel or band. For example, here if we look at the ground from an aeroplane, then we get one impression or one image of the terrain in our brain. But sensor can capture images by using multiple bands or different bands and can generate multiple images for the same geographic area. Black and white film, for example, records wavelength that extends over much of the visible portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Its spectral resolution is fairly coarser, as the various wavelengths of the visible spectrum are not individually distinguished and the overall reflectance in the entire visible portion is recorded. Color film is also sensitive to reflected energy over the visible portion of the spectrum but has higher spectral resolution as it is individually sensitive to the reflected energy at the blue, green and red wavelengths of the spectrum. Thus, it can represent features of various colors based on their reflectance in each of these distinct wavelength ranges. Multispectral sensors have a higher spectral resolution than panchromatic sensors. Individual bands and their widths will determine the degree to which individual targets, for example, vegetation species or different crop species or different rock types, can be discriminated on a multispectral image. The use of multispectral imagery can lead to a higher degree of discriminating power than any single band on its own. The spectral resolution of a remote sensing instrument is determined by the bandwidths of the channels that we have used. Higher spectral resolution is achieved by narrowing the bandwidths. Therefore, in this regard, hyperspectral sensors are superior than the multispectral sensors. However, higher spectral resolution reduces the signal to noise ratio of the data collected. Low signal to noise ratio means greater noise to the desired signal. Certain regions of bands of the electromagnetic spectrum are optimum for obtaining information on biophysical parameters. The bands are normally selected to maximize the contrast between the object of interest and its background. Careful selection of the spectral bands may improve the probability that a feature will be detected and identified and biophysical information be extracted. Then we need to understand that how do we determine the bandwidths. Okay, if we consider the intensity curve for a specific band, for example, generally have a Gaussian shape. So this Gaussian shape of a detector sensitivity to a specific band or the intensity of a specific band helps us to determine the width of the band. So, for example, if we consider the green band, so this is the curve for the sensitivity of the sensor or the intensity curve of the green band. That means the intensity of green starts increasing from this location and it reaches at its maxima over here, and then it goes back down again. Okay. Now, what is the maximum intensity? We can get maximum intensity over here. So, if we consider this one as the 100% intensity, then this is the 50% intensity. So, we can measure the width at the 50% intensity, and this width is basically the bandwidth of the green band. So, this is called full width at half maximum. So, this is the maximum, this is the half maximum, and we are considering the full width of the intensity curve at half maximum to determine the bandwidth. Okay, and this bandwidth is applicable for the intensity as well as sensitivity of the sensor. So, this is called full width at half maximum, or FWHM criteria to determine the bandwidth for a specific band. Next is the radiometric resolution. As the arrangement of pixels describes the spatial structure of an image, the radiometric characteristics describes the actual information content in an image. Whenever an image is acquired on a film or on the CCD by a sensor, its sensitivity to the magnitude of the electromagnetic energy determines the radiometric resolution. Actually, radiometric resolution is defined as the sensitivity of a remote sensing detector to differences in signal strength as it records the radiation flux reflected or emitted from the terrain. It defines the number of just discriminable signal levels. Consequently, it can have a significant impact on our ability to measure the properties of seen objects. The radiometric resolution of an imaging system describes its ability to discriminate very slight differences in energy. The finer the radiometric resolution of a sensor, the more sensitive it is for detecting small differences in reflected or emitted energy. The number of radiometric levels, also referred to as brightness level or gray level, is commonly expressed in terms of number of binary digits or bits. Each bit records an exponent of base 2. The maximum number of brightness levels available depends on the number of bits used in representing the energy recorded. Thus, if a sensor used 8 bit to record the data, there would be 256 digital values available, that is 2 to the power 8. And for example, if we have a 2-bit image, then we will have total 4 different gray levels, that is 2 to the power 2 is equal to 4. So, by comparing a 2-bit image with an 8-bit image, we can see a large difference in the level of detail discernible depending on the radiometric resolution. In a 2-bit image, there are 4 digital values ranging from 0 to 3. As the number of levels increases to 8 bits, we can get 256 levels, 0 to 255. There is more information in the image. Landsat 1 recorded the reflected radiant energy with a precision of 6 bits. The Landsat 4 and Landsat 5 thematic mapper recorded the data in 8 bits. So definitely day by day the radiometric resolution is being increased, and we are getting more detail on the imagery. However, higher radiometric resolution does not always mean a higher quality image, in particular while we are interpreting the image visually. This is because human beings can differentiate approximately 40 to 50 individual shades of gray in a black and white image. So this is very important. This means that there will not this means that we will not be able to differentiate between the images having radiometric resolutions of 6 bits and 8 bits. Because we cannot differentiate more than 40 to 50 shades of gray. However, while processing the image digitally in a computer, the full radiometric range can be utilized in most of the cases, and better results can be obtained. And also, if we use higher radiometric resolution, then the overall scene luminance or overall image quality increases. Next is the temporal resolution. Temporal resolution of a remote sensing system refers to how often it records imagery of a particular area, which means the frequency of repetitive coverage. And this is applicable primarily for the satellites. For instance, IRS-1A sensors had 22 days temporal resolution. This means it could acquire the image of a particular area in 22 days in interval repetitively. Hence, low temporal resolution refers to infrequent repeat coverage, while high temporal resolution refers to frequent repeat coverage. Temporal resolution actually refers to the revisit period of an orbital sensor. That means a sensor that is placed in an orbit. That means satellites basically. This is not applicable for the aeroplanes or drones, so rather it is applicable for the satellites. If we start with any selected pass in a satellite's orbit, an orbital cycle will be complete when the satellite retraces its path, passing over the same point on the Earth's surface directly below of the satellite, that is nadir point, for a second time. So, if the satellite scans its nadir point for the second time, then the gap in between the first scan and the second scan is the temporal resolution or the temporal gap. Now, the temporal resolution is crucial for many purposes, and the requirement of temporal resolution is also different for different types of applications. For example, for the crop monitoring or crop health monitoring, we need more frequent coverage or more frequent imaging in comparison to the monitoring of urban growth. However, there are several factors that may influence the multiple coverage in each pass. For example, cloud cover is a problem, or different other atmospheric conditions may also cause several problems for capturing images in each temporal pass. Anyway, so in summary, sensors are associated with 4 different resolutions. For the aerial sensors, we have actually 3 different resolutions are associated with them: spatial, spectral, and radiometric. In case of satellite sensors, in addition to these three resolutions, we also have another resolution associated with it, that is the temporal resolution. And the ability of the remote sensing system or the imaging system are basically evaluated based on their resolution characteristics.